Good morning and welcome to the Clackamas County Administrator Issues and Updates on this July 2nd, 2022. County Administrator Gary Schmidt, you're up.
Thank you, Chair Smith and Commissioners. And I do want to say today is Tuesday, July 12th. Today is former U.S. Senator Mark Hatfield's 100th birthday. And I had the honor of working for him, and I know many of you know him. And Clackamas County Commissioners in 1996 honored him with the Transit Plaza, the Marco Hatfield Transit Plaza in Happy Valley. So he's a great friend of Clackamas County. And it's also Tony Mayernick's birthday today, our clerk to the board. So it's a great day all around. So with that, we'll start with consent agenda review. We'll jump right into it. We'll start with County Council. So whoever's doing this one, please come forward. Number one, approval of an amendment expanding the franchise area of a cable television franchise agreement with Comcast. Amendment has a de minimis fiscal impact. Franchise fee is 5% of gross revenues. Funding is through cable franchise fees. No county general funds are involved. Jeff Munns, Assistant County Counsel. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. This amendment basically increases the franchise area for this franchise with Comcast to the entire county. Currently, they have a smaller portion of the county that is their franchise area that they operate the cable system within and provide cable services, and they had requested an amendment to the franchise to increase this area to the entire county. So they could feel free to move into different areas to overbuild systems, provide new broadband services as well as cable services to residents in those areas. So I was just speaking with Tim Goodman, who is here from Comcast, who just talked about they are moving into Eagle Creek and the Estacada areas at this time under this amendment.
Are these areas currently underserved?
These areas are some of the areas that had cable providers recently terminate their franchises, yes.
Oh.
So, and that has been something we've been before the board within the last year. A lot of the small cable providers are leaving this area, and so Comcast is going to move in and provide services in those areas. A lot of those cable providers that closed or terminated their franchises continue to be broadband providers in those areas, but this increases the service availability for our residents in different areas of the county.
Any questions or comments, Paul?
Yeah, just quickly, have we heard any concerns from anyone or opposition or anything?
I have not.
Okay.
Commissioner Schull?
Yeah, that was my question. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Any objections to going forward on this? Seeing none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item two, approval of a settlement agreement with Andrea Huffman, Addison Huffman, and Lennon Hinkson. Agreement value is $190,000. Funding is through the County Risk Fund. No county general funds are involved. Who from County Council is presenting on this?
Oops.
All right, I need someone to present, or we'll pull in the item. Going once, going twice. Okay, pulling the item. Item three, approval of a board order for a zone map amendment related to file ZDO 43921Z, removing the historic landmark zoning overlay on 20750 South Beaver Creek Road in Oregon City. No fiscal impact. No county general funds are involved. Nate Boderman, Assistant County Counsel. Go ahead.
I'm here for this one. So as Gary just mentioned, this is the proposal to review or to remove the historic landmark overlay. If this item sounds familiar to you, it's because you heard this just a few months back, but what happened was a member of the public appealed this to LUBA. And so what we're doing is we have remanded the decision, we've supplemented our findings, and we're going to resubmit. And I'm not sure if that will satisfy this particular individual, but it was the most efficient way to at least address the issue in the short term. So Thursday, what we have for you is a set of revised findings. It doesn't change your decision. It's just updating the findings.
Any questions, comments? No objections going forward. Commissioner Fisher.
Hey, thanks. I'm just looking at this. Is there a quick, easy way to find what findings, what part of these materials would that be in?
The findings themselves are the revisions that were made.
Well, I guess both. What was revised and where?
So we revised to address specific criteria that were in the Oregon administrative rules. We made more explicit findings along those lines. We also made some directed findings to respond to the objections that this particular individual had. And so I can provide a red line copy of that if you'd like.
Because I just want to see what the findings were, what wasn't, what the objections were, and what are. And if we can do that before Thursday, that would be awesome.
Yeah, we'll put that together.
Thank you.
Email it out.
I don't know if anyone else is interested. But this has been a topic of a lot of conversation in the Beaver Creek community. I think Commissioner Schrader and I had a conversation with Tammy Stevens, and this came up. So I really want to understand what we're doing here.
Yes, I wouldn't mind a look. See, just give it to all the board members. Commissioner Schrader?
Yeah, I wanted to also repeat what Commissioner Fisher has said, and that is we did have some conversations with Beaver Creek. Were they included, did they get a notice of this as part of their duties as the, hamlet to you?
Let me check on
Entities.
that, yeah,
Yeah,
because once we get into the appeal process, it's a different list of interested parties, if you will, that are parties to the appeal. But we may have sent it out to the entire notification list, but let me confirm that.
And the other thing is, I haven't seen the minutes of when the Historic Review Board recommended that overlay be taken off, because I guess when I'm reading it now, it's because the structures that were there are no longer viable. That was a very unusual decision by our Historic Review Board, and I don't know who's staffing them anymore, and I don't know, could we see who's on it? And I'd like some more information on why they made that decision.
So we had included the minutes in the last packet, but as long as I'm sending out other information, how about I just include that as well?
Yeah, and ditto for me, too.
Sure.
Thanks.
Any objections to moving forward on this? Seeing none.
Okay, thank you. Next, Technology Services. Item 1, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Sherwood for conduit access under Interstate 5 for the Clackamas Broadband Exchange. Agreement value is $23,060.11. Funding is through the Clackamas Broadband Exchange budgeted fund. No county general funds are involved. Dave DeVore, Interim Director of Technology Services. Duke Dexter, stay in your seat. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. Chair Smith, this is actually a great opportunity for CBX and the county. This allows us to join a partnership with the City of Sherwood and some other agencies they're working with to help pay for a large 4,000-foot underground conduit build along with 7 vaults, and most importantly, a route under I-5, which is not an easy thing to do, that allows us to help future-proof future growth opportunities that we're looking at for CBX. It's a one-time fee and allows us to use the conduit for forever. So it's actually a great opportunity at a fraction of the cost it would cost us to ever even think about going out there.
And where is the money coming from to pay for
Our
this?
CBX funds.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Commissioner Scholl?
This is going to go into Washington County?
Mhm.
What kind of coordination has been done on that?
We work with City of Sherwood on that one. We already work with them on quite a few projects, and we're looking at, they're one of the ISPs we're looking at partnering with as well, so this allows us to help connect up to them.
Okay, thanks.
Commissioner Salas?
Is there a ROI, return on investment on this? And if so, when's the break point where you're in the black?
It would have to be when we actually start putting fiber in there and seeing how much we can actually, sell leased fiber out in that area.
So you do have someone on the other side as a customer?
Not yet, but we'll be sure, City of Sherwood will be one. There's some other places.
Well, what it is the potential to be able to connect to other people over in Washington County. So it could be Washington County, could be City of Sherwood, could be the Tigard-Tualatin Fire District, connect up to CCFD1. So this just simply provides a path at a very low cost for us to be able to use in the future.
So the introduction of the City of Sherwood is not really solid, it's not really firmed up, it's just a potential.
It is a potential.
Okay, that's not how it was introduced. I just assumed the way it was introduced that it was a deal. That's why I was asking about
The
the
deal is with the City of Sherwood to share that conduit space and the vaults.
It's empty. The conduit that we have right now, it's empty. Now we have to start actually filling it.
Okay, understood. Okay.
Any objections to this going forward? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go back to County Council. Item 2, approval of a settlement agreement with Andrea Huffman, Addison Huffman, and Lennon Hickson. Agreement value is $190,000. Funding is through the County Risk Fund. No county general funds are involved. Sean Lilligren, Assistant County Counsel. Go ahead.
Good morning. Sean Lilligren for County Council. This is a settlement agreement we've discussed at executive session. This is seeking your approval for the 3 settlement agreements, mother, 2 children, motor vehicle accident with a employee of the county doing his work. This was a motor vehicle accident, significant injuries. The settlement agreements are included with the staff report.
Any questions or comments? Any objections to this moving forward? Seeing none.
All right, thank you. Next, tourism. Item 1, approval of an amendment increasing funding of a professional services contract with Travel Oregon. The amendment value is $300,000. Contract value is increased to $494,210. Funding is through the Oregon Tourism Commission. No county general funds are involved. Samara Phelps is the Executive Director of Tourism. Go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you. Samara Phelps, Tourism. And so this is a contract amendment for a contract that we have in place to do regional cooperative tourism work on behalf of the state of Oregon. It's entirely funded through the state tourism tax and is partnership with Travel Oregon. What's great about this amendment is that it's adding an extra $105,000 to do our program of work for this current fiscal year. And the regional tourism program is a portion of Clackamas County and also portions of Multnomah, Wasco, and Hood River counties.
Interesting. Are we having issues, Tony?
We are. I'm working on it. Apologies. I need a moment to sort out what happened there.
Shall we go ahead and continue?
The Zoom off?
The Zoom is off. I need.
We're still going live out on the YouTube?
Okay, good. On live on YouTube. Any questions for the presenter on this issue? Any objections to going forward? Seeing none.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Next, Health, Housing, Human Services. Item 1, approval of an amendment modifying the scope of work of a services agreement with Ride Connection to provide funding for specialized service rides provided by members of the Clackamas County Transportation Consortium. The amendment has no fiscal impact. The agreement value remains at $483,913. Funding is through the Oregon Department of Transportation. No county general funds are involved. Rod Cook is the Director of Health, Housing, and Human Services. Go ahead.
Yes, this is really just a technical change. No changes in monetary amounts. If approved, it will assist older adults and people who experience a disability in meeting their transportation needs to conduct their personal business.
Any questions or comments? Seeing no objections, thank you.
Item 2, approval of a revenue agreement with Care Oregon for the Medication for Addiction and Primary Care Incentive Program. The agreement value is not to exceed $162,000. Funding is through Care Oregon. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, this would provide financial support to cover a portion of the non-billable underfunded services essential to supporting Care Oregon members diagnosed with opioid use disorder.
Questions or comments? Seeing none. Go.
Item
Thank
3,
you.
approval of an amendment to the Behavioral Health Services Delegation Agreement with Care Oregon for behavioral health services. The amendment value is $2,182,200, increasing the total agreement value to $4,105,546. Funding is through Care Oregon. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, this contract would fund intensive care coordination for adults and children, substance use disorder care coordination, wraparound services, choice services, and administrative support.
Any questions or comments? Seeing no objections, thank you.
Item 4, approval of an amendment increasing funding to the Intergovernmental Agreement with the Oregon Health Authority for the financing of public health services. The amendment value is $5,029,083. The agreement value is increased to $15,740,170.64. Funding is through the Oregon Health Authority. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, this contract would cover epidemiology investigations that report, monitor, and control communicable diseases, diagnostic and consultative communicable diseases services, early detection, and appropriate immunizations for human and animal target populations.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none.
Item 5, approval of an amendment increasing funding of the 2022 Intergovernmental Agreement with the Oregon Health Authority for the financing of community mental health, addiction treatment, recovery and prevention services, and problem gambling programs. The amendment value is $62,500. The agreement value is increased to $9,646,919.14. Funding is through the Oregon Health Authority. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, as the administrator said, provides funding for the administration and operation of behavioral health and addiction program services to residents of Clackamas County.
Any questions? Seeing no objections.
Thank you, Rod. Next, Transportation and Development. Item 1, approval of an amendment modifying the registration fees collected by the Oregon Driver and Motor Vehicle Services through an intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Department of Transportation. The amendment reduces the total fees collected by approximately $300,000 per year. Total fees now projected at approximately $11 million per year. Funding is through user fees. No county general funds are involved. Mike Besner is Assistant Director of Transportation and Development. Go ahead.
All right, thanks. Good morning. This is to amend the IGA with the state so that they can start changing the registration fee for utility and light trailers to $5 a year instead of $30 a year to keep them on track to have it begin with people renewing in January.
Okay. We discussed this, I believe, in several policy sessions. Commissioner Shaw.
I just want to comment that I appreciate this reduction in fees. I'd like to see a lot more of it. Thank you.
Any objections to this going forward? Seeing none, thank you.
Item 2, approval to apply for a Safe Routes to School infrastructure grant to fund crosswalk upgrades at Oregon Trail Elementary School. Grant value is $484,960 with matching funds of $121,240. Funding is through the Oregon Department of Transportation and the County Road Fund. No county general funds are involved.
Yeah, this is a Safe Routes to Schools project, so it originated with the school in a group that included the PTA to install a rectangular rapid flashing beacon, so to help kids cross the road to get to school.
You said $121,000 of matching funds, and where did that come from?
Road fund.
The road fund, okay, thank you. Any objections to this moving forward? Seeing none.
Item 3, approval of a public improvement contract with Moore Excavation for the Lolo Pass Road Stabilization and Surface Preservation Project. Contract value is $4,113,083. Funding is through Western Federal Lands Grant Funds and the Community Road Fund. No county general funds are involved.
Yeah, this is a FLAP grant, Federal Land Access Program grant, and we're going to pave Lolo Pass Road and do some bank stabilization.
Great. Any objections to this moving forward?
Just have one question. Is this a different section of Lolo Pass that we worked on years ago after the flood, or?
No, it's the stretch there. I mean, the part we worked on was pretty small compared to the whole.
Right, I remember the pictures of the lifted pavement, well, I actually remember driving out there too, but the lifted pavement and everything else like that. So is that already somewhat deteriorated?
Well, I think it's mostly the rest of the road, which didn't get repaved at that point in time, which is the bulk of the project.
Okay, thank you.
No objections? Go ahead.
Item 4, approval of a personal services contract with Murray Smith for construction engineering support services for the 2022 Salmonberry Drive paving project, McLaughlin Neighborhood Paving Package, and Boyer King Road Area Paving Package. Contract value is $218,699. Funding is through the Community Road Fund and the County Road Fund. No county general funds are involved.
Yeah, this is a contract to supplement our staff, so we have a lot of contracts going on, a lot of construction. They will help us do contract administration and construction inspection on these 3 paving projects.
Any questions or comments? Any objections to going forward? Seeing none.
Item 5, approval of a contract with Murray Smith for construction engineering support services for the 2022 Sunnyside paving projects. Contract value is $309,574. Funding is through system development charges and House Bill 2017 funds. No county general funds are involved.
Same idea. They're going to help us do contract administration and construction inspection. Just so you know, the SDC part, because we don't use SDCs to pave, is for this 169th turn lane extension.
Any questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 6, approval to quit claim deed equal ownership of tax lot 34E2501001, parcel 009444474 to interested adjoining property owners. No fiscal impact, no county general funds are involved.
So this is a parcel that is a private road, and it is the county has no use for it, but yet we own it because of the foreclosure, and this is to quit claim it to the interested adjacent property owners who are willing to take over ownership and maintenance of it.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections?
Thank you. All of these items will be on this Thursday's business meeting consent agenda. Thank you. Next, behavioral health housing investments. This was a follow-up to questions you had, commissioners, on a consent agenda item a few weeks ago about behavioral health dollars coming to the county. Rod Cook, Director of Health, Housing, Human Services, and Mary Rumbaugh, the Behavioral Health Division Director, are here to present, and they also provided a memo to you in your packet. Go ahead, please, Rod and Mary.
Yes, well, in lieu of time, I'll just turn it over to our resident expert, Mary Rumbaugh.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Wanted just to provide a little bit of clarification. Many great questions from that last issues. So it started with a little bit of confusion where Commissioner Fisher asked if this was related to the $300 million in behavioral health housing investment that was passed in the 21 legislative session, and we incorrectly said yes, when in fact this is a different funding that was passed in 22's legislative session, House Bill 5202, led by the Senate President's Office, very specifically $100 million that would be allocated through an equitable formula to the 32 community mental health programs that cover all 36 counties. So one of the concerns Commissioner Savas had was if we're talking 300 million, 4.7, which is our allocation, the math doesn't work. You're correct, it does not work, but it actually works with the $100 million that were allocated. And this bill was specifically focused on addressing the state hospital backlog situation. So we have more people under the aid and assist, which is a responsibility of us as a community mental health program, is to manage those folks who have been charged with a crime, felony or misdemeanor, and there is concern about their ability to aid in their own defense. So they're either sent to the state hospital for what is called restoration, or we're able to maintain them in the community. The challenge is we don't have enough housing, short-term or permanent, to be able to restore individuals in the community, allowing them to get legal skills training, behavioral health services, including substance use services. So they're sending them to the state hospital, which is actually backlogging those who are under civil commitment. Commissioner Schrader brought that up with her conversations with the local hospital. So the priority population is to build more housing. Our proposal is actually transitional housing initially, so that we can either avoid those folks that we're managing going to the state hospital, or once somebody is deemed ready to leave the state hospital, we're able to place them very quickly. So those are our two priority populations, is aid and assist, and those under civil commitment, because they're not able actually to access the state hospital currently, but we might be able to use some short-term temporary housing to stabilize them out of the hospital. So this is one-time funding, but we believe, and we're already in conversations with supported housing services. Is there some ongoing funding that we can use to maintain this funding, as well as we'll go out for a competitive request for proposal. Community provider will apply for that, and they'll be eligible to apply for some of this other $300 million of funding that is rolling out in 3 phases through the remainder of this year, likely into to 2023. So I'm hoping that clears up some of the confusion about.
Thank you, Mary. We appreciate that. I'm sure there's comments from commissioners. My question is on the 4.7 million. Really isn't enough for a brand new sticks and bricks. So when you say you put out your RFPs on this, it's with existing nonprofits who are already engaged in these services?
Exactly. So you know, what our proposal is looking at right now is what are there some vacant, whether it's potentially a purchase of a hotel, that several counties are doing that, is actually a purchase of a hotel, or just vacant properties that they can get hopefully under market. But you know, my division, we manage behavioral health services, but we don't really do housing. So we really need a partner with a community-based provider that already runs residential or adult foster homes, that this is their expertise.
Sure,
yeah.
sure, especially on this amount of money.
Absolutely.
Although it's small, it's very much appreciated.
Very much appreciated.
Yes. Commissioner Fisher?
Yeah. Thank you, Mary. Helpful to get the different boxes, since there's so many opportunities to improve the system.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, however, so the $300 million that was allocated, there's been a lot of criticism and concern from Association of Oregon Counties and other people in the community about the delay in those funds getting to the community. So you're saying that that pot of money is going to be in 3 phases of $100 million each?
Correct. They're actually in phase 2, so $101 million is out there right now for competitive application for community-based providers. There's 2 focus areas. Either residential facility-based providers can apply either to extend or even try to build additional bricks and sticks, or permanent supportive housing. So they're very clear that those are the 2 eligible categories, which is why we decided on our funding to propose to the state that we'll use it for more temporary sort of goal-oriented, because we knew there was other funding actually out there for permanent supportive housing. And we're already talking with some of our community-based providers like Columbia Care, like LifeWorks, like Cascadia, that already does this, and their interest in actually applying for additional housing here in Clackamas County.
Okay, so that money, the first $100 million was dispersed throughout the state, and each county is running through the county, or is it going directly from Oregon Health Authority?
You have to apply, so any eligible entity, mostly community-based organizations, are applying through a competitive RFP that the Oregon Health Authority.
Directly to, okay, so that's why we haven't seen, I've been looking through the
Yeah,
consent agenda
we don't
to
have
say
any role
how-
in that at all. Yeah, whereas this House bill specifically stated the dollars would flow specifically to the 32 CMHPs through this equitable formula.
Excellent. And then if I, as a very interested commissioner, wanted to track this more closely as far as how the dollars are coming from the phases of that investment, how would I go about learning about that? Would that be directly through the Oregon Health Authority, like their government relations staff?
Yes, and
Or
they have
what-
staff assigned who are sort of lead on the housing investment, and they have, obviously also a web page. So I, certainly happy to get you links for some of that information. Even when this most recent competitive RFP, it was not clear that there were actually 2 types of applications for the same pot of money. So it's not been as transparent or clean, I think, as we would have liked it to be for our providers. So, but the information is out there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, I'm reading I think the first paragraph almost speaks for itself, at least from my understanding, of the first sentence of the last paragraph, or the second to last paragraph, where it talks about the short-term or permanent housing with a priority population focused on individuals under aid and assist who are waiting to either get into hospital or ready to discharge. So I assume that's a voluntary program? No,
they are being ordered by the judge. So if we cannot restore them in the community and they're waiting to go to the state hospital, they are actually in our local jail. And that's what we're also trying to avoid. And part of the urgency is that there's a federal lawsuit against the state of Oregon, Mink-Bowman is what it's called, because the state hospital, these individuals are ordered to the Oregon Health Authority, and the state hospital was not actually admitting them within a timely, they still have due process rights, and there's a very short period of time in which they need to be admitted to the state hospital when the judge orders that. So there's actually a civil lawsuit against the state of Oregon right now, which is why there's so much attention and pressure to address the aid and assist population.
Okay, so then the other part is the second priority, and civil commitment means the same thing?
That's correct. So they have been ordered, they have been found sort of really unable to take care of themselves through a legal process. And so they're either sort of ordered to the state hospital, or they can be ordered, ultimately, we're responsible then for identifying the next level of care, which could be secure residential or an adult foster home, something like that.
Okay. So the word, like secure residential, I mean, is there any way to convey to local neighbors that those are secure facilities that I assume, right? I mean, is there any effort to do that? I mean, I don't know where they are, but, I know that this high-profile case right now in Woodburn, I don't know if any of you followed that, but someone was released from jail from a murder that he committed in Lane County several years back, and is being released into the community, not released, but transferred to a facility in Woodburn. And there's a little bit of an uproar about that. So people are concerned about their security.
Yeah, I think our best example of the community that has embraced secure residential is Villebois. So we have several secure residential programs, five-person homes run by Columbia Care, and Villebois really embraced actually having those homes and really including these individuals in their community. So I think our opportunity is to really, I mean, that's a very sad and a very unique situation. I think our opportunity is to really continue to educate folks that these individuals really are not, very few are dangerous. In fact, they're more likely to be a victim of a crime, and it's just unfortunate that that I think there's just some misperception. So I think that's our opportunity, is also to do some education. But we have secure programs throughout this county, and they're in neighborhoods, and we've been able to be very successful with the neighborhood to be supportive of those individuals.
Yeah, well, maybe it was my misunderstanding that if it was court ordered, that it was somehow there was a risk there, that it was a crime element to it or a conviction element, but not necessarily.
Not necessarily. I mean, under aid and assist, you've been charged, but you haven't been yet convicted.
Right, thank you.
And civil commitment is really just about your inability, because of your mental health condition, to really take care of yourself. Okay. You could be a danger to yourself or to others, but generally to yourself. Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Schrader.
Yeah, Mary, as you mentioned, when I visited the healthcare systems, the hospital systems, they oftentimes are keeping people longer on wards and their behavioral health wards, largely because there's no place to put them where they're safe. So are you working directly with this grant with the hospital systems to alleviate that, or has there been any conversation? How is this helping that part of the system?
Absolutely. I mean, we're in constant contact with our local hospitals here in the Tri-County, and we work collaboratively to either advocate, especially when the hospital believes that the only appropriate place is for those individuals to go to the state hospital. Right. So you may be aware, they may have shared that there have been some lawsuits from hospitals to the Oregon Health Authority, because when somebody is ordered to the Oregon State, when they're civilly committed, they're actually civilly committed to the Oregon Health Authority, and only the Oregon Health Authority sort of manages the front door to the state hospital. When somebody can be discharged to a lower level of care, then they're working with a community mental health program, and then we're sending out referrals, we're talking to adult foster homes. So we're in close contact. We believe that this is a shared dilemma. We don't want individuals to languish on inpatient. They're getting treatment, but they're really not getting recovery treatment. They're getting maintenance treatment, and that's not the most appropriate place for individuals to be.
A good place for them to be. It can be rather depressing, actually.
Yeah.
So.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments on this issue?
I guess my only other comment is the system is so big and broad, and we've got homeless services, and then we've got this behavioral health dollars, and then you have the state, and then you have the resources that are coming from Measure 110 for and then you have our opioid dollar. You have all of this big, and how they interrelate. It's almost impossible to keep track of it all, but every time I get briefed, I'm drawing this system picture of where all these pots are coming from. And unfortunately, they're so siloed, yet they're all so dependent on one another and interrelated. So I just bring that as a point. And
yeah, I would say welcome to my world. I mean, just in mobile crisis expansion, we're getting 3 different pots of money. 10 million, 11 million, which is one time, 18 million in 2023. It is so hard. And every pot of dollars has different requirements on how we're to spend those, and yet we're supposed to create a comprehensive system. So this is certainly my world. We now have created a matrix just to be able to track what's the total amount, what's our portion, what's allowable, what is not allowable, because we'll get dollars and it's like no sticks and bricks, or not, you can't, it's not for ongoing operations. So it requires us then to reach out to partners to say, you know, we can do this with our dollars, but we can't do ongoing operations, so how can we partner? So it will create an opportunity for all of that to come together, but it's going to be a lot of work for sure. Yep. I mean, we're going in the right direction. These investments are historic, and I think we'll continue to see them in 2023, but it's a lot to really try to pull together in somewhat shorter order if we're trying to address immediate crisis, which was what we have in our system today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Gary.
Great, thank you. And please keep the board updated on the progress on this effort. Thank you. Next, Regional Toll Advisory Committee appointment. Commissioners, you received a letter this week from the Oregon Department of Transportation inviting you to select one Clackamas County representative to a new Oregon Department of Transportation committee, which is the Regional Toll Advisory Committee. So if you'd like to choose who that would be, it can be anyone. It could be one of you. It could be a community member. It could be a staff member. I think I'm recommending it be one of you, commissioners, but if you'd like to choose who that is today, please.
Well, I'm reading on, let's see, this letter that's addressed to me, page, second to the last page. And they list the coordinating the toll committee universe. And they have listed on here C4 and JPAC, of which we have 2 members. So I'm confused in this memo, are the people who already serve on these ancillary committees going to automatically be on this new committee, or are we supposed to choose a new person?
They are not automatically appointments, so you as a board have to decide who it would be, and it could be your JPAC, it can be your current reps, but it's totally this board's decision. It's not an automatic.
Okay, it says here, the committee will include an ODOT director and a composition of people similar to the Policy Advisory Committee, PAC, the value pricing feasibility analysis, elected officials, business leaders, nonprofit. For the PAC, there were 25 members. It says here, there's 24 organizations listed. I said, Commissioner Savas, would you like to opine, please?
Yeah, so actually, this is, ODOT has been inconsistent here with this for the last 5 years, but this committee was first formed, essentially, this kind of construct was first formed in 2017 following the House bill. I sat on that committee, one commissioner from each county sat on that committee, and a number of various people, 20-some-odd people. So we did our work and we went on. What ODOT did was they temporarily, added a second meeting to the R1 Act agenda. So instead of meeting every other month, they, in that month where we didn't meet, they added this a different construct of the committee. So what they've done now is said, we don't want to do that. We want to have a different construct. So really, this people that are serving on there now essentially will be, I think it's just assumed that we'll just continue our work under this new structure with a more regional body. So I think it's a good idea to some degree, but I think it's also, I've advocated that they actually make the committee a little bit broader with a focus or opportunity focus for a centralized group that is more Clackamas. That is more Clackamas County centric, so that Clackamas County at this point has more representation. So I would advocate that to keep things consistent and keep the work flowing forward, that myself and Commissioner Scholl continue on our roles.
Commissioner Fisher.
Yeah, so that was going to be my recommendation. I'm not sure if there is a primary and an alternate, or if there's both. How does that work?
They did not have an alternate in the original construct. They're asking for an alternate in this one, but because Commissioner Scholl has served in some of those capacities at C4 and serves on MPAC, it would seem a logical fit.
I think so. Well, I would suggest that Commissioner Scholl be primary on this, if that's something that the rest of the commission would, and then have alternate, but have both. I have really appreciated the reports that we've received from Commissioner Scholl from his involvement on MPAC, and I think there's such an interrelationship here that I think consistency there would be welcome.
Do we know when these meetings will be held, Paul, or do you know?
No, I don't think we exactly know quite yet. I think the first one's going to be August.
I think it said July.
Because the interaction with JPAC and everything else, I would, not to be selfish or anything, but I would just suggest for that consistency to remain the primary myself, to keep everything flowing. And Commissioner Scholl, I appreciate Commissioner Scholl, getting involved in this, and I really encourage him to attend as many meetings as possible to get, wiser and wiser about this. At some point in time, I would like, when we talk about assignments, maybe to talk about how we kind of divvy some of that workload up, because the workload is simply increasing on transportation. I foresee it happening.
Whereas this is, we've been invited to participate, I think the most important duty that commissioners have is to attend our Thursday morning business meeting. We have other commissioners that are traveling for commission business, but if we don't have a quorum here to conduct business, I prefer all 5 of us. That is a problem for me on anybody engaging in these outside activities. I've had to cancel a meeting in July and postpone it for the next week because we did not have ample commissioners here to do it. So it's problematic for me for our participation in that. So any commissioners who are going to serve on this, if there's 2, I suggest if it's in conflict with any of our executive sessions, our policy sessions, or our business meetings, that we somehow work it out that a majority, and I mean 4, when I talk a majority of commissioners, are here doing county business. We are elected to do county business first, and then these ancillary committees that we all seem to be involved in, and me included. So, Gary, your comment.
ODOT is asking for an answer this week, so I would suggest you pick one, a primary commissioner and an alternate. And if you could do
Commissioner
that.
Scholl, you have a comment.
Yes, in view of Commissioner Savas's comments, I would agree that if he was primary and I was alternate starting now, that would be a good idea. And then next January, we can shuffle around if we so desire.
Sure. And Gary, if you're going to contacting them, morning meetings are problematic.
Chair, I don't assume this is going to be a morning meeting, actually.
Okay, well, that's good, but that's fine. But Gary, if you could make that recommendation, if they are seeking Clackamas County's consistent participation in this, it cannot be in conflict of our regularly ordered business.
Yes.
If you would make that.
We'll share that, absolutely.
Thank you very
yes.
much. So, does this need to be a motion?
Yes, please.
Okay, I will accept a motion from anyone designating Commissioner Savas as the primary and Commissioner Scholl as the secondary of the Regional Toll Advisory Committee.
So move.
Second.
Commissioner Schrader has moved that motion, and Commissioner Savas has seconded that motion. Any further discussion on this? Tony, would you please call the poll?
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Scholl?
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
Commissioner Savas?
Aye.
Chair Smith?
Aye, motion passes 5-0. I want to thank my commissioners for adding this additional meeting to your workload. I know we're all busy, and thank you for participating in this.
Thank you, and we'll share all this feedback with ODOT. Thank you. Next, review of your business meeting for this Thursday, July 14th, 2022 at 10 a.m. You have a North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District public hearing, which is a first reading of an ordinance that amends the NCPRD ordinance to establishing and adjusting fees, which basically authorizes the board to make decisions on fee and fine approvals, not me. This was something I brought forward at my request. This is the only governing body that you oversee where the district director or the district administrator gets to set fees and fines, and I believe it should be you setting fees and fines with ability to delegate to me if you desire, but overall it's that you should be the decider. So this is to change the current ordinance that does not allow you to set fees and fines, it allows me. So this was at my request. Your first hearing is this Thursday. Next, you'll have 2 county public hearings, which are all related to psilocybin. Did I say it right? Yes. Sort of? Okay, thank you. Which you requested last week. There's two first readings depending on what direction you want to take, and it's either to go to the voters to have a permanent ban on psilocybin or to only ban psilocybin for 2 years through December 2024. So staff will bring both options to you, and you can decide which, if any, you want to go forward on, and we'll have appropriate staff and medical experts here to give you feedback as you have requested. So that will be this week, and then you'll have all the consent agenda items for today that you discussed, and we'll forward it to the business meeting for this Thursday. If you have any questions on any item, I can either answer it now or we'll answer it for you before Thursday.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there'll be an opportunity for us when we make the decision on psilocybin for there to be public input?
Yes, public hearings do allow for public input.
Okay. Oh, no, I know that, but when, so they're presenting it today.
Tomorrow, or Thursday.
And then we're going to decide which direction. So let me ask this for clarification, because I'm just not quite clear. So if we decide not to move forward at all, is that something that would go to the voters, and then there would be public hearings on that? Or could we get public, at what point do we get public input?
All right, so the first opening is this Thursday at the business meeting where the public can come and give you feedback.
Okay, so it is a public hearing
It is
this
a public
Thursday.
hearing, and then you can decide after this Thursday if you want to have more public hearing, listening sessions. You can have a second or third or fourth. You can have as many hearings as you want. going forward. If you want to do nothing, you don't have to do anything, and it just will go into effect.
Okay, I was thinking only staff was coming on Thursday, and we were making that decision. So
public.
I will make a request. When, on our issues, if we could link to the business meeting. It usually is, but it's not this time. So if I could have done that, I could have known that.
Okay.
Sorry, Gary.
Yes, apologies. We'll make sure that's accurate. Well, that's
Thank you
linked
so
going
much.
forward.
Got it.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, next, Secure Rural Schools 2022 Election and Archie Creek Fire Damage Claim. Commissioner Shull would like to give an update, and I can also add to that, Commissioner, when you're ready. Go ahead, please.
You might recall that last week we got a message from the Association of Oregon and California Counties saying that we need to make an election to decide if we want to receive secure rural schools payments or receive portions of actual timber receipts. We are told that 1 August was a deadline to make that election. Yesterday, staff met with Association of ONC Rep, Senator Wyden's office, and the AOC, and that date has been moved to 30 September. This 14 July, there'll be a webinar provided by the Department of Forestry on this matter, and I'd like to report back to you next week on the details and to make a recommendation.
Great.
Okay?
Thank you for that. Gary?
Yes, so I will add, so the deadline has been extended, so there's more time. Staff has also asked for more time. Apparently Senator Wyden and Senator Merkley's office, believe it or not, were surprised by this, coming from the U.S. Forest Service, so they would like to get some feedback directly on their end. So we'll certainly give you an update next week, but if you agree, Commissioner Shull, we'd like to give staff even more time, since we do have till September 30th, to bring you all the information needed before you make a decision on this.
Yes.
Certainly.
Thank you for that work, Commissioner Shull.
Okay. So more to come is the quick answer. Thank you. Next, low-income toll report and congestion pricing policy update. Commissioner Savas would like to give a quick update. Mike Besner is here. If there are any questions to answer, most staff are on vacation this week, well-deserved vacations, but Mike will do his best to answer any questions or follow any direction the board wishes to give.
So you're holding the fort down. You get to make all the decisions, Mike, right?
Yep.
Thank you for coming forward. Go ahead.
Well,
Paul,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I've been tasked with this, so I'm going to take the lion's share of the work here and read what staff has prepared for me, and then Mike and I can speak to it as if need be. So I'll start. Colleagues, I'd like to circle back on the 2 tolling-related items I mentioned last week: the draft revision to the Oregon Highway Plan section on tolling and congestion pricing, and the recently released draft low-income toll report. Mike Besner, DTD Assistant Director, is here, obviously, in the audience, and going to answer questions. The low-income toll report, which the legislature directed ODOT to prepare as part of HB 3055, outlines several concepts for benefits and people and families with a lower income intended to reduce the burden from tolling as proposed by ODOT and the legislature. The 3 key proposals developed with input from the Equity and Mobility Advisory Committee are providing a significant discount in the form of free trips, credits, a percentage discount, or a full exemption to households at or below 200% of the federal poverty level, which is currently $27,180 for an individual and $55,000 for a family of 4. I want to highlight $55,000 for a family of 4. The second bullet, providing a smaller discount.
Hey, Paul, I'm just curious, is that in electronic form? I would really love to follow along while you're reading it. Is there some way that somebody could email that to me?
No, but I'll get it afterwards.
Okay, Paul, I'm going to let you go ahead and proceed with this, but it would have been nice, too, if commissioners would have had a copy of this letter, because I don't know if you're going to ask us.
It's not a letter, and again, we're trying to put this out. It'll explain itself as we get towards the end, so there's
It
opportunity.
still would be nice in the future, Gary, if all commissioners had a copy of what's going
It's just a
on.
lot to comprehend,
It
and
is.
all
And
the
I- and I'm
numbers.
writing- and
And
I'm-
I'm trying to take notes, and it's just
Sure.
really challenging.
I literally got it 3 minutes before the meeting started.
Okay, well,
So,
somebody
yeah.
could email it to us, and we could follow along. That would be awesome.
All right,
Everett?
so there's no memo, commissioners, because you've not directed staff to do anything. This is a commissioner commissioner request to brief you on a topic. These are his talking points, his notes. If you want us to do something, you'll direct us at this meeting, in which case we'll provide you a memo.
Which
and
is the
background.
purpose, yeah, which is the purpose.
Go
So,
ahead, Paul. Point number 2, go
yeah,
ahead.
this is my effort of trying to inform you of what's going on so that we can prepare ourselves so that you're part of the decision-making as we go forward. So again, second bullet, providing a smaller discount using the same methods to households at 201% to 400% of the federal poverty level, or $54,630 for an individual.
Let's say that again, 64,000?
$54,630 for an individual and $111,000 for a family of 4. And then lastly, more curious, using self-certification or reciprocal certification for households that qualify for existing programs such as SNAP, which is like an honor system kind of a proposal. The report will be presented to the OTC and to the legislature in September. At this point, ODOT is seeking staff-level technical comments, and DTD, PGA, and the Equity Inclusion Office are analyzing the report. There will be an opportunity later this month at both JPAC and IMPAC for Commissioner Scholl and I to get a presentation from ODOT and provide verbal feedback on the draft. Additionally, in September, when the report is presented to the OTC and the legislature, there will be opportunities for written board comment. Staff will keep this on our radar, and I'll circle back in the summer with more information and potential opportunities for board input. County admin staff will circulate the draft today, so you have a copy of the complete report. Simultaneously, ODOT is also updating the Oregon Highway Plan, which is a companion document to the more holistic Oregon Transportation Plan. The Highway Plan provides the long-range vision, the high-level policies, and implementation approach for the highway system statewide. Currently, ODOT is working on a revision to Goal 6, tolling and congestion pricing, which contains definitions, values, guiding principles, and policy objectives for ODOT's tolling program. Some policies in the draft version include a statement that the intent of congestion pricing is to change users' behavior by having them choose a different route, different mode of transportation, or not make the trip at all. Secondly, a requirement that demand management, congestion pricing, access to transit, multimodal connectivity, and other tactics must be proven to not adequately address bottlenecks before adding additional highway capacity. Third, a policy to discourage short trips of 3 miles or less on the highway system, and stating that those shorter trips, which today use the interstate, should not be considered diversion and therefore could be ineligible for mitigation assistance. That's a kind of a flag. And lastly, a bullet here, a restriction that diversion mitigation can only be used within 1 mile of a toll roadway. That's very problematic, and we can expand on that a little bit later on, why that's bad for some of our communities along the 205 corridor. I'm almost done here. Obviously, many of these draft policies are in conflict with our board-adopted tolling value statement and take a cookie-cutter approach that do not acknowledge or address the unique geography, transportation system, demographics, et cetera, in our part of the region. ODOT has a comment period open between August 1st, and the OTC will be holding a public hearing next Wednesday at 1 p.m., July 20th. My request today is to determine if there is board support for having staff prepare written comment, and if we could have a representative attend the OTC hearing and provide the additional verbal comment at that July 20 meeting. Before we discuss, I'll note that last Thursday, C4 had a representation on the current draft, and with a unified, strong voice, unanimous, asked ODOT for an extension of the very short comment period. This was dumped on us pretty quickly. A lot has been dumped on us. That's really the gist of the challenge here. C4 asked to draft a letter, which we discussed last night at the C4 Executive Committee, and you'll receive a copy of that letter as well. With that, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Again, this was kind of dumped on us, so I apologize. Can't really apologize for ODOT doing this, but we just feel that they're doing this in the middle of summer is quite unfair, and it's not practical to not give staff, not just Clackamas County staff, not just the city staff in Clackamas County, but the region staff are all a bit up in arms about this. So would you like to hear thoughts
I'm
on
sure
approach?
commissioners have comments on this.
Okay.
Thank you for Commissioner Fisher.
Yeah, I think this issue is so important that it warrants more than a commissioner listing off a bunch of very critical and important equity measures, which for us to hear, it's hard to grapple. If I could have seen it, it would have been very helpful. I can't discern if the equity with the measures that were expressed regarding the income levers will be equitable in Clackamas County. So I think that's something that I would like to see. It's worth the study of all of us. This is so important.
That's my point. That's why I'm bringing it here.
And it's just more important than, I mean, Paul, it's hard, we can't comprehend
Oh, I
the
get
reading
that.
of it.
So Commissioner Fisher, please. We just learned this last week. I brought it up under issues for today. That's as fast as I could do, as fast as staff could do. So if you want to have a work session on it next Tuesday, just say yes.
Okay, then we should do it, a work session on Tuesday if we need to. The piece I'm very concerned about is the impact on businesses. If we have a local Clackamas County business that has to make multiple trips over the Abernathy, there needs to be equity there. My other concern is if they're going to turn on congestion pricing in the region, they should do it all at once, or there needs to be significant equity for Clackamas County residents and businesses. And I don't know if what you said, I wish I could comprehend. I wish I could, when you spoke, I wish I could put it all, couldn't type fast enough. I can't take in information that way. And that's why I had put on last week this equity issue to have staff brief us at issues, because it needs to be presented in a way that we all are understanding it.
But that's why we can't talk about this in 5-10 minutes. I can't present. We have to have a work session on this.
Commissioner Schrader, you're wanting to talk.
Yeah. I agree with all of this. I think we need to have a work session. I think we really need to get our arms around it. And Gary, is there any economic information about how many businesses are freighting across the Abernathy Center? Has there been any analysis done locally with either our traded sector or smaller businesses about how that's going to affect them?
We haven't done that internally, but I'm sure ODOT and others have, yes.
Well, okay, let's, Paul, if you could get that
We've asked for it.
information
It's not, let me just add to that. That's a great question.
I mean, our major freight area is obviously in the area of the corridor of 212 is, you know, Fred Meyer and all those kinds of places. So it might be interesting to give them a call. I'd like to do that and see what's going on.
Yeah, Oregon City,
Oregon City, Oregon City Business Alliance.
All of our C4 members are all quite concerned about the economic impacts. We have not had any report from ODOT about that. So there, again, lots of moving things. Mike, you want to have anything to add?
We're under commissioner comment right now, Commissioner Savas. Martha, it's not only this area, it's
the whole, yes.
It's our natural resource farming that's transporting all up and down the corridor. Log trucks, farm trucks, all of this. We may have to add language to this if we're going to do this, to mention business, the business sector. It can't just be these, equity does not apply only to low-income people. Equity applies to our ability to deliver the goods that the society has demanded from Clackamas County in all areas. We asked Gary schedule this for a session. Paul, if you got the letter right before the meeting, it would have been prudent upon you to give every commissioner a copy as well to read it forth. I know it's last minute, but that's why we have staff.
It's not a letter. It was just my talking points.
Okay, well, whatever it is, you know, you have very able staff person sitting right in this room. He could have ran to the copy machine to do that, because there's a lot of information in that. Staff will have an opportunity to weigh in. Mike, do you have any comments on this?
So we're talking today about two different, there's so many different things here. You guys brought up an awful lot, and this is all coming in a lot of different directions. Remember, ODOT is doing, this isn't the county, ODOT is doing an environmental assessment for tolling right now. That's going to take a few months, and I think that'll cover some of the topics you're talking about. This low-income report, the legislature directed ODOT to produce it and to report back to them. And that's the one report. The other one is the policy change to the Oregon Highway Plan, which was where they're defining diversions statewide. They're defining corridors statewide. Mm-hmm. And that was the presentation to C4, not the low-income plan. They're two different things. And that's the one where C4 was going to write a letter to asking for a time extension for comments because they wanted them by August 1st, which everyone thought was a little too fast. The low-income report,
When was that generated?
very recently.
So that could have been made available to commissioners.
It is available, yeah.
That's this document. It's several, like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
I've
a whole
seen
bunch
it.
of pages.
I mean, staff has reviewed it, just from a transportation staff, and we don't have any technical comments on it. It's listing options, it's not decreeing anything. The OTC is not even going to be adopting it, they're simply going to be updated on it in September. This is when I talked to the consultant that produced it. But it is going to TPAC tomorrow, so which is the staff, high-level staff committee that reports back up to JPAC. So they're presenting it to TPAC tomorrow. So staff technically hasn't even had the presentation yet from Oregon staff, ODOT staff about that low-income report. And as mentioned, it's going to MPAC on July 27th. It's going to JPAC on July 28th.
Okay, so I'm looking at some dates here. July 19 is our next opportunity for issues. Paul mentioned a July 20 date, and then you mentioned a July 27 date.
Well, that's just the date that it's going to MPAC.
When's the public hearing? Paul mentioned comments by a certain date.
So that.
I didn't catch it. what
Okay, yeah,
date it
so
was.
again, there's two different things. The policy changes to the Oregon Highway Plan, which is kind of like ODOT saying, statewide, how do we want to do tolling? Just very high generic stuff. That, they want comments by August 1st, and this just came out. And that's the one we were all like, you got to be kidding me. And C4, I believe, is going to ask for a 60-day extension on that, which is very, in my humble opinion, very reasonable. So that's coming up fast, too fast. The low-income report, there isn't necessarily a public comment component to it. ODOT is producing it, and they're going to bring it to the OTC, where I suppose people can make public comments, and then they're going to report to the legislature about it. And it's kind of like a status update more than, no one's adopting anything with it, if that makes sense. So those are two different things, as opposed to the highway plan amendment, which will go to the OTC for adoption.
So are we being asked to comment on the highway plan on next
Yes.
Tuesday's meeting? Is that what that
Oh.
is about?
Well, public comment is open till August 1st on the highway plan.
So what are these dates, July 20 and 27?
July 20 is the public hearing.
Oh, okay.
The public hearing.
The OTC
So we
hearing.
don't
But the comment's
necessarily,
open till
so we
August
don't necessarily have to have our comments codified by July 19. We can have a meeting July 19, we can regurgitate it, we can think about it, staff will have, then we can come back, we can put a draft together, and then we can come back again for a second look-see for submission August 1st.
Unless they grant the time extension, in which case it's not a rush anymore for the congestion, for the Oregon Highway Plan policy amendments.
Mike, is our staff going to be ready on next Tuesday to discuss this?
Well, if you ask us to be.
Gary?
All right, so I'm naive and I'm really low level here, right? But you've already set your position on tolling commissioners. So why are you, correct me if I'm wrong, why are you discussing this again and again? You've set a value statement, you've set your position. We can write as many letters as you want. You don't have to keep discussing this over and over, respectfully. What am I missing?
I think you're correct. I think with it's easy to us to make comments and attach that. Again, there are two different things here. One is this low-income thing, which we could make comments on, but it's pretty high level. Even there's no real due date. It's not being adopted. And we have time to still give input through these committees where it's still going to meet. The policy one, again, we're asking for an extension of 60 days, but we have our value statement. It fits really well. I don't know what we would.
Okay, we have some commissioner comments. Thank you, Mike. Commissioner Fisher.
Yeah, so when will this equity be adopted? Through what format and when?
The low-income study. I don't know if they're ever adopting it. It's a report
Well,
back to the.
when will levers regarding equity be adopted?
So
When is the public input on that?
I don't have an answer for you right now. EMAC, and I know it's another topic, has recommendations that's another part of this. And again,
Right.
part of this is there's statewide stuff and there's 205 specific stuff as well.
Okay, well, I want to answer Gary's question because the issue of how Clackamas County is affected, specifically how this rolls out, is of critical importance for us to weigh in every way possible, in every format, and with elected officials across the region to garner support. So when I talk to elected officials, there seems to be some consensus that when congestion pricing starts, it should start for the whole region. Clackamas County should not be disproportionately affected. Somehow, some way, we have got to collectively get that message out. So doing a letter on our values is great. We have consensus, but actually knowing what's happening so that we know when and how we can influence, we just need help here.
Yeah, and
I'm very confused if it's what's happening July 20th, what's happening August, whatever. I know there's a 60-day. Is the highway plan where equity is looked at?
No.
Where do we input and impact the process here?
It's ongoing and constant, and we have been every step of the way commenting on everything, even the points you just made, which were really good ones, to turn it all on at the same time. We've been saying that constantly. It's already in letters. It's already in requests. There's nothing new. I mean, we're saying it over and over.
I know, but you're doing it where at all the functional and practical levels? We get to do it at all other kinds of levels, talking to our federal delegation, talking to our state legislators, talking to our regional elected officials. So having in a way that is comprehensible so we can speak intelligently about it would be very helpful.
I would love to help you out with that. It's been very challenging.
Yeah, Commissioner Savas, you have another comment.
Yeah, this is frustrating with all the frustration you're expressing is frankly, this one and the same that everyone's expressing, just in different words, and because this is just being dumped on us. There are so many moving pieces. I am reading and going to meetings after meetings. It's taking up considerable time. We haven't even talked about the RTP. In essence, what's happening there at the metro region. When this hits the metro policy, we're going to have even more work. Folks, it's going to hit R1 Act. It's going to hit all of these things. I'm going to be before you over and over again, and you're going to be overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed, and I'm on this all the time. So I really actually appreciate what you're sharing because I'm not alone here. The biggest thing I think here is the magnitude of the administrative burden of doing this is tremendous to the people who are not eligible for the low-income discount. So what that really means is that the price for everyone is going to go up, whether you're a farmer or you're a worker and you're making $1 over that minimum threshold. We're all going to be impacted. So you're right. This is not consistent with our value statement. That's why we need to continue to fight. That's why we need to have it on record and input every step of the way. I can do that on my own on your behalf, but I know you want to be involved. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm asking for this.
Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to bring this back to issues. Please narrow our focus on exactly what you're asking us to do. And we have two transportation liaisons on this board. We have Mark and we have Paul. And Paul, please bring in Mark, as needed to help with this load. And you're right, if this is constant and ongoing, there's going to be many issues before that. This board has been very consistent in our opinions on this moving forward. And see what we can do on Tuesday. And please get us information ahead of time so we can study it. This week would be preferable. I'm not going to say you're going to have the letter done. I'm going to say any information that we can read on it by week's end, Monday at the latest, because this is a lot of stuff.
So I want to make sure I understand what you want.
Well, I'm not sure. Commissioner Savas wants a letter.
Well,
if we bring it back to issues, or it's a work session, or whatever you get, what do you want us? What do you need? I guess is my question.
I have a suggestion. I think, again, my opinion, commissioners, you're already clear on your policy direction on this. The step is really a communications plan. What are all the decision points coming up regionally?
Exactly.
What should be a letter? What should be you personally going to testify? What should you be, who should be calling whom? That's what I think is really necessary. And so staff to outline, here's every decision point coming up in the next 2 months we're aware of. And then how we best deploy you, commissioners, you individually versus staff versus letters. That's what I suggest you could discuss.
And I could get something to you, and then you want to have space at issues again next week to.
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yeah, but I also think the big picture overview, I know that Commissioner Savas has been in the weeds on this. He understands it. He's got it all down. Commissioner Scholl has been to more of the meetings. He's probably got it. Martha Schrader was on a lot of these committees, so she probably has it. But for us to all have the same information, even if it's at a very high level, even if it's a picture of these are the different bodies that are influencing this decision, and this is their decision points, so that we will have an understanding of all the different moving parts and be efficient and effective in our advocacy. I mean, we are out there, all of us, all the time, working with other elected officials across the state and the region, and we need to be educated with the same, this is what's happening, so we can be effective for our residents of Clackamas County. And our businesses, I'm afraid they're going to be overlooked in this equity lever, and that is not going to be good for our economy, our recovery, or our community.
We had testimony at our transportation town hall of the owner or manager of Clackamas Town Center, who said that entire area, his entire shopping center would be severely impacted. It would be a ghost town. And we've heard from that one, and that was very good. So you know if he's going to be, or they are going to be impacted in all other areas as well. So let's see what we want to do for Tuesday. Bring the information, Paul, Mark, bring the information. Secondary, we might want to consider a communication plan going forward. And the best way we can do that is identify dates as they come in and basically fill it in on a chart for us. Yeah. Let's create a document, a working spreadsheet that from this is happening, this is happening, do we need a response or don't we, as best as we can.
Yeah, it's always changing. That's the challenge. Well, we can do that as best we can, but you'll find that what's getting dumped on us during the summertime of all times and in short order, this is just totally, is this not, I don't think it's professional.
Well, it's not, and I'm almost wondering, Paul, if it's being dumped on us that fast. You know, we have our staff people watching this. They know what our philosophy is going forward. If they just couldn't answer for us on some of this stuff. Yeah, I'm more than happy to bring it forward, but.
I could tell you at C4 where this highway plan policy change thing dropped on Thursday, C4 handled it really, really well. I mean, pretty united to a person, very upset about why you dumping this on us at this last minute, and thus the request for 60, I mean, Metro, everybody was pretty united. So it isn't just us.
That's a miracle.
And like I say, we can create all that in a week. It'll change, guaranteed.
Okay, whatever. Well, Paul, are you okay?
We'll get you what
for
we have
Tuesday?
and what we know
Okay,
now.
Paul's okay for Tuesday. Gary, are you okay with that?
Okay, I know exactly what you're looking for. I can talk to you offline, Mike. and
Okay,
Everett.
thank you.
We'll go
Thank
put it
you, Mike,
together.
for coming forward. Thank you for all the information here today. Gary, what's
Thank you. So
next?
stick at the table, Mike. So quickly, Commissioner Fisher had questions about the Equity and Mobility Advisory Committee, which is also related to tolling. The quick answer is we did have a staff representative representing Clackamas County, and that wonderful person has found greener pastures at another organization. So he left, and we've not identified another staff member yet to sit on that committee, which we will. So there's a slight gap right now, and there's not a Clackamas County staff member on that committee. But we'll get that rectified as soon as possible. That's my update. Mike, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, what I can tell you is, and our rep did a great job, and EMAC's job is, for now, pretty much done. Their final recommendations are baked. The fact that our rep has moved, still in the region, but has moved, is okay. The work is done for now. One of EMAC's recommendations to ODOT is keep EMAC going. So that's new. And so we're like, okay, well, if EMAC's going to keep going, we must have Clackamas County representation on it. Even though there technically wasn't a Clackamas County representative, it's not like the tolling advisory committee where they have a slot. They don't, but we have made it quite clear, and that will not fly if we don't have one. So we staff are working with Martine's shop right now to try and identify a good person to take the place.
Okay. Commissioner Savas?
Yeah, one quick thing to give you an idea as far as this discount, this low-income discount and so on. So about a year ago, Metro did a panel of people around the country who are in charge of DOTs or tolling programs. And a gentleman, his first name was Chris from ODOT, not ODOT, but from Atlanta. When he heard about our proposal to do something like this, his question is, well, you would think, and they don't have tolling all the lanes. They have express lanes, right?
Right.
And his response was, this is going to really defeat your purpose, because when we do the analysis, the people driving down the roads that are using the highway, that are stuck in traffic, are these people. So you defeat the purpose of tolling. The Lexus lanes are not Lexus lanes. They're Toyota, as his own words, they're Toyota Camrys and Hondas. It's the working class. When you use this, you're defeating the purpose of tolling and congestion pricing.
You know, what really amazes me about this, tolling has been going on in America probably as long as roads have existed. Yet ODOT, in its infinite, I'll use the term wisdom lightly, can't go to some of these other jurisdictions, Southern California for one, and see how they're doing it down there, or any of these other states, and realize that tolling all lanes isn't going to work. Why can't they do that, Mike? Or are they?
Well, there's a question. So Metro actually did convene a bunch, and that's what Commissioner Savas is reading from there. Metro actually did convene something. ODOT hired a tolling manager, and she's very capable, Lucinda. She came from elsewhere where it's been done before. They are doing something different. Even the kind of tolling they're doing has not been done before. Even the low income, some of the ideas that they're trying to do has not been done in the United States, at least before. They are trying to break new ground with a system that they have not done.
So the answer to low-income tolling in other jurisdictions is to have a free lane, that anybody can use it, but it might take you longer. That may be the answer.
That's a logical one.
Commonly, congestion pricing is done with only one lane. It does not raise revenue, and ODOT's goal here is both to reduce congestion, but also to raise revenue to pay for projects.
Commissioner Fisher, you're up.
So for this equity and mobility, what are the recommendations and what is the definition of equity? Does it deal with economic diversity or is it just racial?
I can get you the report.
We can get you the copy of the report.
Yeah, just
But
do
what,
that.
high level, what are the recommendations? And where do they go?
I don't know.
And how do they get implemented?
I don't know offhand. And so, they are an advisory group to ODOT. So that's where it goes.
Okay, and these are baked recommendations. Commissioner Savas?
You're going to see that there are
There's a
proposals.
whole package.
You'll see that there's proposals. There's a lot to this.
But it's different than the low-income report, though, just to get even more confusing. The EMAC recommendations are not the same thing as the low-income report.
Oh, golly, this
The
is so
low-income report
much
is produced
fun.
by ODOT for the legislature. The EMAC recommendations is an advisory group that came up with their own recommendations and have forwarded them to ODOT.
Okay, well,
I will get you copies of all of it.
well, how can we get a synthesis and a high-level overview of what's happening? Because we as commissioners, except for Commissioner Savas and Commissioner Sol, don't need to be in the weeds on this, but just some general high-level overview.
And that's what I think you just asked for us for Tuesday.
Well, I asked for it for today, but is that what we're getting on Tuesday? That's fine.
Yes, so we're getting on Tuesday.
Okay, got it.
Yes, I think.
But we're not here Tuesday, remember. We're going
Well, we
to,
don't start until later, though, so I
we
think
could probably join the meeting.
we
We're-
start our prenatal to 3 at like 12. So
You
we're
guys are
gonna
going to be
okay,
out next
Commissioner
week?
Schrader.
Yeah, we're going to NACO next
Yeah,
week, too.
next week is, well, okay.
But anyway, we'll just, listen, not your problem. If we are interested in this information, we're going to have to make the time to join the discussion via Zoom.
Yeah, and we're gonna
And
be
we
okay.
should have time to do that,
Because we
yeah.
start our activities at like noon.
Okay, good.
East Coast.
No, well, 1 hour difference.
Oh, okay.
But we have the morning free.
Okay, Savas.
Yeah, so Commissioner Fisher, I'm a little confused because earlier you were, and I don't disagree, but I want to get clarification. You're asking for more. You want to need all the information, and then now I just heard you say you want a high-level overview. So for
Yeah,
Tuesday,
so
which,
this
I mean,
equity-
we can give you the basis and forward you all these documents, but for Tuesday, do you want the high level or do you want the detail?
I think we need whatever detail is necessary for the high level. We need to know how to communicate about this with our state and regional partners. I would really like to know, what did this equity mobility task force, what was their charge? What were the recommendations? How does this get codified through what process? And are they only dealing, what's the definition of equity? Is it dealing with economics? Or
So
is
for-
it
for-
racial, and what is equity for these purposes?
I will get that to you.
Yeah, so for Thursday, there's there were two parts to this.
You mean
One was the
Tuesday?
goal 6. So Mike, for Thursday, for the July 20 hearing, it's the goal 6, correct?
The
Or is
July
the,
20th hearing is for amendments to the highway plan.
right, the amendments to the high. So we can focus on that because this will be overwhelming. So that's what we need to do for next week is
Yeah, I mean, what you're asking for, issues might not do it justice. I don't know. I mean, we're talking a lot. But
Gary.
well, we can condense it as much as
This could
possible.
be an 8-hour session, and you will not have all the information you need. This is
right.
really an ODOT function. We can invite them to give you a report. There's a final report, there's an executive summary, we'll get it to you. And more than that, this is a big lift, commissioners. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's a
I know
lot.
you know that. I know you know that. You have a lot of business to conduct. This is just one of the many things you do here. Thank you.
So we just come back with what's relevant for July 20th, and we'll have some breathing room for the August 1st and in September on the low income and the EMAC work.
Well, I can get copies of that to everybody.
So I'm going to defer to staff and Gary for next Tuesday's session, what to present to us, what needs to be done, and you use your discretion and make the decision on what you're going to present on Tuesday and what the action item is.
Yep,
Is that okay?
absolutely.
And then as things arise, Paul, we'll bring the issues forward and discuss them.
Right, and we'll probably include a draft letter, my guess is. We'll probably
On
include it
Tuesday.
for Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right, anything else? Okay, thank you, Mike, for coming forward and being crystal clear as mud. And I'm just in jest, I know, you're doing very well.
Again,
Thank
Mike
you.
is covering for 5 or 6 employees who are on a well-deserved vacation, and he did excellent today, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
right.
Gary, what's
The
next?
final item today is Commissioner Communications.
Okay, Commissioner Schrader, you're up.
Yeah, thank you. A couple of things I'd like to mention. I had attended yesterday the listening session of the Coalition of Communities of Color, and I have to tell you, it was pretty phenomenal. I want to thank Martine and her group for pulling that together. I think the conversation was striking in that because of their justice research, we will now have some mapping of demographics across the county of where these communities are and where they are, and I want to call it the economic mobility scale, low income. And I think it's going to be great information for us that is going to inform everything we do as we move forward, and overlap maps with prosperity zones and where most of our community of color, our folks are located, and how we can direct, justice services to them. So,
And that's the study, that countywide study we initiated.
yeah,
Okay.
it's good. It's actually, it's a lot of really good information, and it'll really help us move forward. And there was a question about, is this supported by the Clackamas County Commission? And I said, absolutely, it is. All of us. I felt like I could speak for all of us.
Well, we did.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did it. But the information is pretty phenomenal, and I really think Marcus Munday and his team have done an excellent job with that with Martine. So that's going to really help us. The other thing I wanted to let you know, I will be talking to the Department of Commerce today in Portland as I try and get a hold of information on our exports and how to move medium-sized businesses into that level of opportunity for them. And I'll be presenting on a panel at NACO on some of the information I'm getting from them, as well as a past report that we had in 2019 about how we were working this through economic development. But of course, with COVID and all the other disasters we faced, we're now finally starting to get back in line with what our original intentions were and what our focus has been on those issues. So
Great.
that's it.
Thank you.
That's all I got.
Commissioner Fisher.
Yeah, so I answered my own question in what the purpose of the Equity Mobility Task Force is. So it is availability of transit and other transportation options, transportation needs for the benefit for people of color and people with low incomes, people of limited proficiency or disabilities that live near or travel through the project area, better understanding of neighborhood benefits and impacts for the communities near the tolled facilities, traffic, pedestrian, bicycle. So my question was, is this broad or is it specific? And it seems to me that the concerns that we have in Clackamas County are concerns of equity. So whatever those recommendations are, I'm looking forward to understanding that. And if we need to influence those recommendations, I think we need to for the benefit of our constituents.
Thank you for that.
Yep, and then other than that, I've talked enough today, and I'm just so fired up. Paul, I share your passion on this, and I appreciate the indulgence of my commissioners. One question for Commissioner Schrader. I was very sad that I was double booked at 2 p.m. yesterday. Do you know if that is recorded or if we can catch it?
I believe it is, and I was going to ask to see if we could all get copies of the
I think we
overheads.
should, and my question for you and staff, Gary, is it ready for prime time?
It is ready for prime time, and there's going to be multiple of these sessions that happened
Right.
yesterday. It's not the only one. There'll be 3 or 4.
No.
Oh,
you can-
great.
So why don't you just give us the initial information, then Martha will discuss
It was really-
strategy when you want to roll it out.
Yeah, and I'll have some ideas of what other maps we can overlap it with, because we've done plenty of them, and so we can really, this will really help us hone down on specifics of what our strategies are going to be, I think.
Good. Thank you very much. Commissioner, you finished.
Thank you.
Commissioner Scholl, you're up.
Yes, good morning. My only topic this morning was the Association of Oregon and California Counties, which we've already talked about it.
Great. Thank you. Commissioner Savas?
Yeah, just briefly, I think it's probably fair to say that this whole thing with ODOT and all this tolling is really taking a toll on all of us. Just briefly to Commissioner Fisher's point, yes, that's a broad statement. My heartburn with the EMAC committees, we did not have enough Clackamas County representation. We had one staff member that sat on that. But more importantly, all those things you listed are unavailable in the 205 corridor as a result of TriMet not having transit service, not having local transit service. So we have a larger impact, but we don't have a strong voice at the table. And the whole work is being done at a regional generalized look as opposed to a targeted. That's the challenge for us. We're at a disadvantage.
Okay, thank you. As you know, I'm on the Willamette Falls Locks Authority Commission. We have established subcommittees that are meeting all this week, or all this month before our monthly meeting. I am on the Budget Committee to identify, first of all, putting together a budget, and then dollars and donations to go to this organization to move forward. Also, I'm on the committee for the hiring of the executive director, and we're having a lot of discussions in that. We've made some recommendations that we'll take to our full committee later this month, decide what we want to do with both of those issues, and then I'll report back when we make a decision on it. We're all pretty much on the same page. I'm on 2 separate committees with different makeups, and we're all pretty much thinking alike, which is nice. We realize there are hurdles attached to this going forward, and we all say the same thing. This is going so slow. This is going so slow. We should have made more progress by now. But the challenge for us is this is a public corporation. It is not a government entity. And I tried to convince the folks, hey, you know, we don't really probably have to put out an RFP since we are a public corporation, but I need a legal opinion on that because I think some of us are afraid to act. Going forward, oh, can we do this? Well, yes, because we're the authority under a public corporation, right? So that's a challenge for us herding all the cats and moving forward on that. But once we get going, it'll be great. We are working on stuff we're trying to finalize, for instance, the bank accounts, and who is the signer, since we don't have an executive director. We need designated positions on this authority, and that'll be coming soon. And I'll let you all know when it happens. Seeing no further business before this commission, we are adjourned.